555 is so much more than just change in a very broad way. And I feel like you might get tripped up if you stick with solely just change, because change could be anything. Change could be happening anywhere. But I think something that's very important to understand about numbers is that they all highlight an area of your life. And when you understand the numbers that encompass not only 555, but what it equals, you get a clearer insight into how 555, when you're seeing it, is behaving. So we're going to talk about it. So I would like to say welcome to Numbers with Ace Shakari. Now me butchering my own name. Welcome to Numbers with Ace Shakari. I'm your host, Ace Shakari, but you already know, call me Ace. We're going into a little bit about 555 and the things it encapsulates. So if you're liking what you're hearing, make sure you share it on your socials and tag me at Numbers with Ace Shakari on Instagram or TikTok. And all the direct links are in the description of this episode. I do have services if you're interested in those. So let's go ahead and get into it. And I do want to mention those services again, because angel numbers, though I'm going to give you a nice general peek into how these numbers behave, they do have personal meanings. And that's not to say that the general meaning won't necessarily resonate, but we can get even more pinpointed when we take into your personal numbers into account. So I would recommend checking that out, and the meanings will also change over time because you also have a personal calendar. There's so many more details that comes with numbers than I feel like people give it credit for, but that's what we do over here. So thank you for tapping in. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 15, and then 1 plus 5 equals 6. So we not only have 5's rulers coming into account, but we also have 6's and also 1's rulers in there. So 5 is ruled by Mercury and Jupiter. And then 6 is also ruled by Jupiter, but as well as Venus. And then you also have the number 1 being ruled by the Sun. So this isn't too many different energies. It's a very sensual energy. It's a very creative energy, a very expressive. It can be very bright, but it also can highlight a level of change. But like I said before, where is this change happening? This is typically likely to happen within the mind, so within yourself, because 5 is the number that highlights the mind in and of itself. So if you haven't listened to my number 5 episode, I would recommend going to check that out, because we went in on the number 5 in that episode. But not only does it reflect, with it reflecting itself, there's an internalization that comes into play. And this is also emphasized by the number 1 being in there and highlighting self. Then you have 6 in there highlighting a sensory stimulation, because 6 loves to feel good. It loves to feel good. So it wants to indulge in those things that do feel good. And that might be with self, and that also might be within the mind. So you also bring fantasies in it. But what I really want to point out is that I did talk about this a little bit in my angel number guide. So if you haven't checked that out, I recommend checking that out as soon as possible so you don't miss anything about numbers. But thoughts becoming reality. Now, this comes into play because 6 is connected to the physical. Now, we're bringing up reflections again. Reflections are 2 numbers that are sitting on opposite sides of the same vibration. 6 reflects the number 4. So if you listen to the number 4 episode, you know that 4 is more connected to the spiritual space in regards to the external of you're seeing the spirituality around you per se. It's not necessarily, I won't say even seeing it, but sensing it around you. And then 6 is that physical side of it, especially because reflections are opposite sides. So you have 4 being this spiritual sense, and then 6 being this more physical sense. And it's very interesting to see how that plays out, especially when we bring 555 into the conversation, and you get to understand 5's connection to the mind. So when you're able to see how these numbers are behaving and seeing what's happening in your mind, to then go forward and be like, okay, what do I want to create for myself? What can I cultivate for myself? That is very much highlighted in 555. Now we gonna make this take this a little up a little notch real quick, because something that I love to talk about, but really do, is 555's connection to, or even suggestion towards, sex magic. And if you haven't heard of this before, it's something I highly recommend checking into, because it's using sexual energy to create whatever it is that you desire. Now, 6's connection to Venus, but also not only that, but also Jupiter, really emphasizes this ability to create via those methods. So this can be done with yourself or with a partner. I might actually make an episode on this. I did an episode a while ago that's not available anymore, but I might bring it back, because No, you need more. You might need a little bit more context on how to get this done proper. But anyways, when you take into that intimacy of what you're trying to create for yourself and bringing it into a physical energy that you're feeling, a physical pleasure that you're feeling, there's a ability to create something deeper, and also highlights again that intimacy with with whatever it is that you're creating for yourself. So I'd recommend, highly recommend doing that, because it's very much natural within that energy. And with five's connection to expression within of itself, I feel like that's a very, very beautiful way to express oneself, and also to be in such a vulnerable state. You get a true sense of expression in those states. So there might be a little bit of performativeness in there, but at its core, you can't run from certain things that comes when you're in such a deep space with yourself. But continuing, I also want to point out 555's connection to anxiety. It can be very overwhelming, because with the mind being so very highlighted of 555, if it's the same mental energy being highlighted again and again and again, that anxiety and those intrusive thoughts, baby, oh, they might be coming for you. They can be coming for you, and it can feel very, very overwhelming. So this can also be a signifier of, hey, let's take note of what's going on around us, and also take note of how we're stopping us. Of you might be getting in your own way, especially with one being present in there. There's an emphasis on self. So you might be stopping yourself from whatever it is you're trying to achieve or create or express or share or comprehend. And sometimes with 5, again, reflecting itself, that internalization can slow you down, even though 5 is still trying to move at the same pace that it was already moving. And then with the sun's energy being encapsulated by that one also being in there, there's also this awareness of, okay, well, anything can happen. What can we make happen? Well, it could do this, it could do this, it could do this. And there's so much overwhelm that can be experienced. So it's very important to also be able to clear your mind. And that doesn't mean to empty it of like there's nothing there, but to see, okay, is this thought actually something I want to be thinking right now? Is this something that's actually benefiting me to actually sit in right now? I do think there's some heavy themes that people do need to take the time to process and think through and feel their feelings. But I also do know and recognize the fact that you don't have to live in that state of what if, or live in that state of, well, I don't know, or I'm uncertain. You ain't got to stay there, babe. You ain't got to stay there. You can get up, you can walk away. And also I would recommend a movement of some sort when you do feel this overwhelm. Of 555's connection to movement of the mind, specifically the mind. You want to be able to also transmute that mental energy and put it into physical energy of moving the body in some way. So get up, walk around. You might want to do some jumping jacks if you're feeling fancy, maybe even a push-up or two, or just even going simply for a walk. If you don't feel like you can get up or you do not have that physical capability, just moving your muscles, roll your neck around, wiggle your toes, move your fingers, move your joints, just move your body just a little bit so you can disperse that mental energy and get yourself so much out of your head and a little bit more into your body. That can be something that can help. So listen, I've already said it before, but I will say it again. Numbers have a personal meaning for you. So I recommend you work with somebody who does understand how numbers work and how each of these numbers will work with your numbers. Because not only would the number 5 be highlighting of the mind, but if you checked out my technique of natural order, you would also be aware of the fact that you have a number sitting over your 5, and it might not necessarily be 5. It can also be a very, very different number. But understanding what number is over your 5 can help you understand how 555 is playing out in your life, and also the areas it's being highlighted. But this can be so much deeper, so I recommend booking a reading with me or somebody else who you know who understands numbers on a very deep level. But you know what? Thank you for listening. Share this with somebody who sees the number 555 or has been sensing a shift in their energy that is encapsulated in the things we discussed today. But yeah, follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Numbers with Ishtakari, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.